Shit. Hang on. I'm not risking it. Alright? I ain't risking it. Wait. I saw some... to see a snake and associate it with Satan, or a rose with Maria, or an arrow with Cupid. It's the art of conveying the message without needing to read the title or of the piece.
それだけではなく、記号というものは便利すぎると3人は考えたようですよ。互換性の高すぎるメッセージングは美術の表現性を損なうと危惧されました。
Brisket for the biscuit. I mean, look. It's fine, right? But I don't know if YouTube's okay with it. And I'm only doing it because I'm just doing it to do so that I do less work.
天才的な描写力を持ったサバンの少年がアルファベットを覚えた途端絵が描けなくなったなんて逸話もありましたね。
YouTube is hell. Yeah. Why bother painting the concept of love when you can write the word? However, if you don't know how to write, then expressing your love grows far more difficult.
文字に比べれば言葉による会話の方がまだ感情という揺れが入る分不可分だと、そんな考えのもと町からは文字が排除されました。
Without symbols, mediation is left to disorderly and subjective forms of expression, such as art and pantomime. Honestly, it all sounds pretty inconvenient, despite the clear advantage in forcing the development of art. After all, the hope is for great artists to be born from this environment. The Grand Tour project is nothing but clear in its goals. Thus, from someone like Rinka, if a resident here stole classified documents, they wouldn't be able to decipher them, rendering them meaningless.
そして試みはうまくいったからこそ、この性質は当代に至るまで引き継がれます。
One of which is this town.
とはいえ本来、文明の発展に文字は不可欠。それを無理やり取っ払っているから、必ずどこかで齟齬が生じます。身の回りで使う道具、例えば時計やカレンダーなどといった日用品一つとっても、普通は数字が刻まれています。
Calendars especially. Clocks? I've already said you could get away with it if you just read the hands on the clock, right? Calendars? Not so much.
そのため、街の環境づくりに専用のガジェットは必須でした。例えば、鳩時計は音声で日付を読み上げ、カレンダーの役割を果たしています。一種のユニバーサルデザインとでも言いましょうか。とりわけこの街では、多くの電子機器が導入されています。
Yeah, but the electronic devices that aren't in this town are like phones and other communication devices. But guess what? They still have radio. Somehow.
パスコードがなくとも鍵を解除できる生体認証。ボタンとつまみだけで動作する簡易ラジオ。あとは、そうそう、キリエさんの使っているフィルムカメラなど、どれも色やボタンの形で機能が識別できるようになっています。
See, because like here's the thing, they don't have a use. The We're censoring everything. Yeah, they don't have a use for the radio unless you are able to transmit something through it, right? So the only reason you have a radio in this instance is for Leela, right? Because listen, I don't see any fucking radio stations in this town.
皆さんの使っている身の回りの道具は、これまでに続いてきた先代の町が生み出したものと言えるかもしれませんね。ユネさん、何か？
Do those towns still exist?
いいえ、ありません。
She answers definitively. Even I know the answer to those questions. The only town in existence right now is this one.
最初の町、クローザは造営からほどなくして1943年に亡くなり、2つ目のフォークトラントも81年にはその役目を終えています。
I mean, Crosser makes sense. 1943. That's around during World War II, right? Buckland, around 1981. What happened during 1981? Because, okay, the only significant event I can think of around that time would be during the Cold War with the destruction of the Berlin Wall, right? But then the Berlin Wall was destroyed when? 1989, right? So it was like a solid 8 years after the ending of Vokland's. I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly. If only Starving was here. Maybe the principal as well to talk to him. Yeah. I mean, the only reason a radio is the only use for the radio is for the outside world, certain people in the outside world to communicate to inside the Aurora or something. Each time the town was reborn as a new region, as part of a new community, this town comprises the three generations, the third generation.
では、どうして亡くなったのか、ですよね。その答えが、シュウさんの言ったあの絵なのです。
What painting? Unsure what she's talking about, Sister Lily chuckles in response. Fucking Lost Paradise or whatever.
私が最初に美術回廊を案内したとき、聞いたじゃありませんか。気になる作品はないか、と。
Oh.
時にシュウさんは、好きなアーティストや作風、時代はありますか？
well...
興味のある作品でも大丈夫ですよ。何か好きな絵画ですとか。
Cross's Lost Paradise.
はい。クローザの失楽園とは、最初に作られた街、クローザの終わりを描いた作品なのです。
I hadn't been able to remember the painting, and yet I'd spoken its name. Now I understand why. The reason the town vanished is because...
初代の町、クローザは、不審火によりわずか一晩で、面積のほとんどが焼け野原と化しました。
It was Guido's granddad that burnt the town. Imagine.
またクローザは森に囲まれたコムーネでしたので、住んでいた人々も大半が逃げ出せず死亡しました。恋か偶然か、何にせよ動き始めたばかりのグランドツアー計画はわずか2年で頓挫を迎えるかのように見えました。
However, Sister Lily continued. The much hoped for outcome of the experiment was born from the ashes of Cross's demise.
失楽園。その作品が発見されたのは時の戦争が終結してからでした。
With the dissolution of the Berlin Pact after World War II, the Axis powers became meaningless in the new world. They actually are talking about World War II. Do not say his name. Only I get to. But that's because it was all for jokes, alright? The Grand Tour project, which had been viewed as an abject failure, was given a second chance.
その作品はクローザ最後の日を描いたもの。一つの町が炎に飲まれ消失していく様を 痛ましいほどの生々しさでありありと描いた油彩画でした。対峙したこちらが熱を帯びてくるような炎、腐臭さえ漂ってきそうな死体、胸をかきむしりたくなるような人々の表情。実物をお見せできないのが残念ですが、軽々しく見せられる作品でもないのですよ。事実、当時は多くの精神疾患者を招いたといいます。
Listen, as someone who has frequented Reddit 50/50, nothing will faze me. According to Sister Lily, the painting is powerful enough to affect those who look at it. It reminds me of a story I heard from a silent film Guido made. Great artists of genius ability house demons inside themselves, and the work created from those demonic abilities move people. That painting was the result of the Grand Tour project.
本来、クローザで学生たちが生み出した作品は、すべて焼き払われたものと見られていましたからね。その成果物は、クローザの失楽園と名付けられ、46年に世界へ発表されます。
Reddit 50/50 is yikes. Yeah, it's crazy that there was like this era in YouTube where like every YouTuber would do Reddit 50/50s. They all have the same reactions, right? Because they aren't desensitized to the murder. They aren't desensitized to death, unlike me, right?
作者が不明というのも当然ですね。クローザで灰になった誰のものかもわからないのですから。
You're saying that the painting was the only thing that survived the fire?
はい。空になった水がめの中にキャンバスが残されていて、そのために発見も遅れたようですね。また、損傷も大きかったですが、現在は修復されています。そんな失楽園は強い文化的価値を認められ、多くミュージアムが恒久的に保存すべきだと訴えました。これはつまり、数々の名画同様、人類の共有財産として公開しましょうということですね。
It's the highest of honors given to any work of art. The way Sister Lily talks about it, Cross's Lost Paradise should by all rights be hung in the Louvre of I don't know how to pronounce that one. Or Uffizi Gallery. I don't know.
ただ、その上で弊害が出ると予想されたのも事実。
Harmful effect.
その強すぎる影響力です。クローザの失楽園は、審美眼を持つ人ほど見入られ、狂気に惑わされてしまう。いわば魔性の絵画でした。
Oh, that's why Guido's crazy.
結果、作品の一般公開は見送られるべきとの考えが主流となります。すると所有者であるベルトーニは、失楽園を一般のコレクターに売却しました。
It was auctioned off.
物好きと言うべきかはわかりませんが、曰く付きの極めて価値の高い作品ですからね。90億円ほどで取引されたと聞いています。
Huh? In 1946? Bro. What? Okay, I need to see the inflation rate on that. 78 million in 1946. Worth today. Oh, fucking hell. Wait. What was it again? 78.2 million. 78 million. You know what? I'm just going with 78 million. Calculate. $1.2 billion. Excuse me? For a fucking Reddit 50/50 picture? It's a cursed painting that touches the very soul of anyone who sees it. Any who see it. Indeed, I can see how certain individuals might be fascinated by the very idea. $78.2 million seems excessively high for a single painting. Did anyone have that much? Did anyone have that amount of money back then? $78.2 million is an unthinkably large amount of money.
どれだけ負の影響をもたらそうと、作品自体の価値は変わりません。クローザの失楽園は紛れもない名画で、
I'm sure it is.
そして何より、サンタアレイア学院に通っていた生徒の確かな芸術性を裏付けるものでした。
Cross's lasting legacy, the only remaining artifact from the first town, which was raised in a single night. And there's no denying the masterpiece wouldn't exist if not for the Grand Tour project.
これを受けて、各国に散っていたベルトーニ、ハート、渡良瀬の3名は再び集結します。失楽園売却の資金を元手に、彼らはグランドツアー計画の再始動に乗り出したのです。
Yeah, who wouldn't if they could get $78 million from a single painting? If one town fails, then we can build a new one. Yeah, they were probably thinking, hey, if we can get $78.2 million from this small town that was burnt down a single night, imagine how much money we could get from a painting that was from a painting that was how do I say this? What's the word? Sourced from a town that was burnt down that was slightly bigger than Cross's. But that didn't happen though, unfortunately. But that's what Japan is for. I'm sure they assumed they had more than enough money and power to do so. Money, yes. Power, also yes.
ただ、いくら高額とはいえ、売却資金だけで町の運営はできませんから、3人の力をもってしても、お金の工面は難しかったようですが、ともかく
I would imagine so.
次はウォルフガング・ハートの故郷、ドイツにおいて1966年、新たな町が策定されました。
That was Vogtland, the second town. Vogtland. If only Starving was here, he would be able to help me pronounce it. I'm assuming it also contained St. Aria Academy?
はい、ありました。2代目のアレイアですね。そして第2の町は、クローザよりも規模が大きく、教職員も大量に採用されました。
Money creates power? Yeah.
また、その費用を賄うべく、新たな収益事業が考案されます。なんだかわかりますか？
Weapons manufacturing. A profitable enterprise.
はい。今風に言えば、マネタイズというやつでしょうか。町そのものから利益を上げる仕組みです。私たちのいるこの3代目、町においても、同様のシステムが構築されています。
Oh. They're talking about selling art, right? There's that. There's also the drug manufacturing, right? It's certainly a question that's crossed my mind before. After all, I didn't pay a single cent towards tuition, and all my meals were free. With that said, the town doesn't seem to have an industry of its own. How can they make the academy profitable enough to sustain itself and the town?
ヒントとしては、クローザの事例ですね。
Oh. I suddenly realize what the answer is. The lack of proper industry isn't a problem if you view the town from a different angle. You sell artwork.
正解です。教育に費用がかかるのなら、その成果物を売ればいい。
Once it's sold, it's gone. Although, that doesn't seem to be an issue. Because the point of the Grand Tour isn't the desire for beautiful works of art.
町の存在は、 一般には知られていませんが、神塚たちの間では確かな話題となっています。買い手には今も困っていません。
You know what? That's the most unrealistic part of the game. The general public is unaware of the town's existence. How does no one see the big fuck-off ice wall outside of the town? Alright?
琴葉さんや義堂さんのような優れた芸術家が生み出す作品こそ、この町が輩出する特産品というわけです。
Even someone like me, far from an art expert, can tell their skill is on another level. How is it hidden this well? Exactly. The seemingly never-ending supply of art coming from a town whose very existence is fairly ominous and wrapped in superstitious lore only adds to their intrinsic value. Probably, your singing isn't a tangible object that can be easily sold. It's much easier to barter with things like paintings or sculptures.
その通りです。イースター展、ジュノー展、ミネルヴァ展、そしてこのアレイア祭。それらにおける入賞作品は保管と称して密かに外へ横流ししています。
Her tone as she explains this to us is relatively detached.
無断で売却して申し訳ないとは思っています。しかし、事情をお話しするわけにもいかず、それに信頼できる筋にしか流しておりませんので。
Yeah, okay, but the next question is, how much are you selling these pieces of art, right? Our plane and helicopter not found this place, right? Like, even if this place was built on, like, an island somewhere, right? Would no one have noticed? Would no one with, like, a helicopter or, like, a plane or, like, a boat not have stumbled across this town in how long? So, how has no one been able to find this place in, like, 40 years? Right? That's around the timeline. 30 to 40 years.
学費と、そして生活費のようなものだと思っていただければ。
Tuition is the money students pay in order to attend school. It's the cost of expenses. The very concept of tuition doesn't exist in this town. That's why they allowed me to attend the academy free of charge. Although based on Sister Lily's logic, I really am a good-for-nothing parasite.
話を少し戻しますと、二つ目の町フォークトラントは、シュウさんもユネさんも見たことのある場所なんです。
Not only have I seen it, but Yune too.
ええ、時をめぐるアンナ、ご存知ですよね。
Nah. Ain't no way. You know what? It makes sense. The fucking movies were cast. The movies that they watched had white people cast. So obviously. Oh.
なんか森のシーンばっかだな。
セットじゃないよね。
It looks like it was filmed on location.
喋ってる口とセリフが一致してないような。
Yeah, it was filmed in Germany. I think this is a dubbed version. They're actually speaking a different language.
外国語って、もしかしてもうない国の言葉のこと？
I'll explain it to you later. I'll never forget that. The foreign film I watched every month across every timeline. Everyone was engrossed by the story, but I couldn't help but be bothered by the unfamiliar landscapes and people.
あれが第二の町フォークトラントで撮られた映画、その吹き替え版です。
That explains the foreign cast. I'm struck by an epiphany as all the pieces finally fall into place. Yeah, they dubbed it. This is an amazing revelation to me, although Yune still seems unsure. So there's no way the movie was actually shot 100 years ago, right?
はい。オリジナル版、時をめぐるアンナは当時の2代目の聖夜レイヤ学院に通う学生たちによって1980年に撮られたものです。フォークトラントが正式に解体されたのが81年なので、ちょうどその1年前になります。
Yeah, exactly. Just like that action movie, with all those fight scenes in the woods.
森のシーンが多かったとキリエさんが言っていたかと思います。あれが第二の町の特徴ですね。
By feature, do you mean...
2代目の町、フォークトラントでは、クローザの時にうまくいった事例を生かし、フォレストという人工的な森林を作りました。
So you're saying none of those trees are real?
はい、偽物です。それが町の外周をまるっと囲っています。
Okay, at least a forest can be more hidden. A giant ice wall? Not so much. An impenetrable man-made forest. It reminds me of a certain dominating presence here in this town. Like the Aurora.
オーロラの前身といったところでしょうか。フォレストはクローザがたまたま森林に囲まれたコムーネだったことに倣っています。そしてそれはオーロラと同様に社会と町を隔絶する役割を果たしました。これがうまくいったからこそ今日のオーロラがあるわけですね。
Of course, the Aurora wasn't something born overnight. That would hide it way easier and make sense. Yeah. So the next question is, how are they able to build the Aurora, right? Knowing the stages of evolution that went into this current iteration of the town, it's clear the Aurora was built with a specific goal in mind.
そんなフォークトラントはドイツ政府によって解体を余儀なくされます。いろいろとアクシデントもあったようですが。
What do you mean by that?
とはいえ、町の運営は10年以上も存続し、世に出た多くの作品はその費用を補ってあまりあるものでした。さて、第1の町も第2の町も潰れました。ですが計画はここで終わりなのでしょうか。
A project aimed at cultivating artistic talent through forced isolation. Our existence here is proof enough of the project's continued existence.
立派な成功を収めたグランドツアーをそこで終わらせるという判断はありえませんでした。彼らはすぐに第3の町の選定に取り掛かります。
3 hours, 37 minutes. Alright. Happy 9/11 day. I mean...
が、そこには問題が生じていました。
What was that?
単純な話ですね。発起人であるベルトーニ、ハート、渡良瀬の3名の高齢化です。フォークトラントが潰れた1981年の段階で3人とも弱い80を超えていましたから、次の町が建てられるまで生きていられる望みが薄かったのです。
Me saying that very much dates this episode, right? Because sure, for the VOD watchers, right, this is coming out tomorrow, right? But if you're watching on the main channel, this is coming out like months later. The project had originated before the Second World War. They're definitely no longer alive today.
とはいえ、です。中んずく渡良瀬は日本において町が造営されなかったことを心残りとしていました。本人はこれまでの町運営に強く尽力していただけになおさらです。
This was timed well. Was it? I should have played. You know what? I should have played my Tetsu. At least that game has a plane in it. Never mind.
そこで彼は第三の町の策定とともに後継者を定めることに決めました。
which was Soichi Watarase.
はい。そのために渡良瀬宗一氏は聖アレア学院三代目学長という立場を与えられたのです。
The same Watarase that Yune had met, the principal who spoke with both Kirie and Kotaha. Following in the footsteps of his grandfather, who advocated for the construction of the town.
時代が時代ということもあり、場所の選定にはそれまで以上に気を使われたようですが、結果としてここ北海道は足寄町に絞られました。
Talking about destruction of the day with destruction. God damn it.
候補地としては日本画も学べる京都などもあったようですよ。どうしても見つかりやすいのでダメだったみたいですが。
She says before chuckling to herself. As she said herself, this is her final lesson, so Sister Lily makes no attempt to talk around formally forbidden topics such as foreign countries and cities.
以上がこの町が作られるまでの歴史。何か質問はありますか？
She seems to want a more concise summary.
ユネさんにはわからない単語が多すぎましたね。では、軽くおさらいしますと、町は古き良き芸術を教育するための学園都市です。そしてここ足寄町は全世界で言うと3代目にあたります。文字がないこともオーロラがあることも全部ひっくるめて芸術のためと、まあそんなところです。
That this recap is for the people who didn't pay attention to the other 1.5 hours. That was maybe too brief. Though I doubt Yune, knowing nothing about the outside world, could grasp anything more complex. The Ainu, a group of formerly illiterate people who are said to have settled here, which is probably why I've never heard of the town of Ashiro before. Yune. After listening to the story, Yune tries to tell me something with a determined look in her eyes. I open my mouth in an effort to explain. Sister Lily, Yune...
大丈夫です、シュウさん。今のユネさんの言いたいことは私にもなんとなく伝わりました。
This is people who zoned out.
どうしてこの町は滅ぶのかですよね。
Nod. Yune nods slowly. The apocalypse, the aesthetics of destruction. Despite knowing everything I do, I'm still missing one crucial piece.
結論から述べましょうか。今日起こるはずだったアポカリプスは3年ペガサス組柊義堂様による作品です。
Guido? I'd be lying if I said hearing his name was that surprising. Still, hearing it from her lips, thus affirming his part in this, was as shocking as a direct blow to the back of my head. You mean the blow to the back of your head that Guido gave you in January? I don't even know if Guido was the one who hit him in the back of his head.
101年前にアポカリプスと呼ばれる終末が起こり、この町を除く外の世界は滅亡した。と、皆さんには教えていますね。が、言うまでもなくそれは物理的、環境的な世界の終わりなどではありません。
You probably done that. Yeah. It was either him or the headmaster, and anyone else I can't think of.
先に称した通り、芸術という分野が解き放たれた年代というだけでしかないのです。ユネさんにとっては衝撃かもしれませんが、オーロラの外にも人々は生活しています。
I knew that much already. The town's ideology was based on the assumption that the outside world had ended. And every detail of this town's very existence was created to help back up that premise.
また、この世界の終わりという概念は、第二の町、フォークトランドの時点ですでに導入されています。日本と違いキリスト教圏でしたので、ある程度その刷り込みもやりやすかったのでしょう。
So you're saying the town must be destroyed because it happened once before? Why now, though?
あまり慌てないでください、シュウさん。ちゃんと包み隠さずお話ししますから。
Okay. I'm frustrated and anxious. I'm about to find out certain truths I could never have learned in the outside world.
つまるところアポカリプスというのはただの伝説、文字通りの黙示録に過ぎませんでしたが、そこに意味を見出そうとする者も現れました。
They took it too literally.
クローザの事例を思い出してください。かの町は火災によりなくなりましたが、後世に残る作品を生み出しました。
That piece being Cross's Lost Paradise. A cursed painting that shows people running for their lives while the town burns, driving mad anyone who sees it.
町、閉ざされた単一の世界の終わり。生と死に振り分けられる人々。どこかで聞いたような構図ではありませんか？聖書の一節をモチーフに書くのが宗教画だという基本的なお話はとうにしていたかと思います。クローザの失楽園は単なる事故、偶然でしたが、くしくもそれは先例として強烈な印象も残しました。あれを超える作品を生み出そうというのが街そのものを破壊する目的です。そしてその狙いは第二の街フォークトラントでも行われようとしていました。
Falkland was built roughly 40 years ago, right?
はい。つまりはそこでも今日と同じような背景があったのですよ。街そのものを破壊し作品にしてしまおうという。ですがそこでは様々な悪条件が偶然にも重なり失敗を余儀なくされます。それはもう不運だったと管理者であるハートは嘆いたと言います。
Wait. Does hang on? I might be. This is what happened in Falkland is what is happening now in the Aurora, right? Fuck. I might be overthinking this, but right? God damn it.
その結果、フォークトラントは無事に解体されました。町そのものはなくなりましたが、犠牲者などもなく。
Right, like, okay, Crosser was destroyed. Okay, that was obvious. Falkland was tried to get destroyed. Someone tried to destroy Falkland and failed. Right? And now the town in Ashura has also the destruction of the town in Ashura has also failed. Planned to do this but failed. Yeah. So the same thing happened in this town. Right? They chalk it up to bad luck, right? But can't you say the same thing about this? You know? The fantastical painting, Cross's Lost Paradise, was born from Cross's death. The same result was attempted artificially through Falkland and fortunately failed. Which means
そして、私たちのいるこの町、アシュロ町における担い手が義堂さんであったということです。
it is a planned killing. Yeah. They want to recreate Cross's Lost Paradise, but they failed in Voklan, and now they're gonna fail again in Ashuro. Disciple. The word itself brings to mind images of a follower carrying a specific message. Did Guido ever see Cross's Lost Paradise?
はい。彼はその影響で、破壊の美学と呼ばれる盗作的な価値観へ傾倒することになります。
Yeah, and he thinks Kyrie thinks the same way he does. The disconnected way Sister Lily talks about it makes it seem like an issue that doesn't affect her. It doesn't, because she'll escape the explosions, and it's also clear that the facts she's presenting to us are only the beginning. He brainwashed? Essentially, he was brainwashed by the painting. Guido is the one behind the apocalypse. With his name as the answer to the equation I've been struggling with this entire time, past conversations suddenly spring to mind. God damn it. The boss calling me. Huh? He really does hate losing.
いや、なんだか頬張っているシュウが可愛くてな。ほら、マスタードついてるぞ。
This was like, this is the gayest line in this game. Oops, sorry.
シュウには俺たちにない視界がある。俺たちが当たり前のように見ている光景も、シュウの目にはどこかずれたように映るのかもしれない。シュウの見る街を俺は見たいんだ。
信じられませんか？
This is fucking weird with all context we have now. Bro, like I said, the way this game recontextualizes every fucking line of dialogue for these characters is amazing. Like, it more so with Sakuya, which we still haven't brought up yet, right? But now with Guido, especially during his route. God damn it. I'm just surprised. Was it all a lie? He was always there for us, always so supportive and helpful.
彼は彼なりにシュウさんたちのことをついていたと思いますよ。
Yeah, that's why he wanted to immortalize all of you in a painting. With your own blood, but, you know, in a painting. You knew all of this from the very beginning, didn't you?
そうですね。私たちが彼に口を挟まなかったのは、教師というのがそういう立場だから、ということで納得してください。
Well, of course you're not going to interfere. It doesn't affect you. She can say he loved us, but it's hard for me to believe it. Because my thoughts are dominated by the knowledge that he tried to kill us. The way the facts line up with everything I learned thus far only makes it harder for me to decide what I should do. No, Guido was an artist first and foremost. His art will always take precedence, that's all. The idea of everyone's primary responsibility being to be an artist is drilled into their heads. Someone who devotes himself entirely to his craft is the ideal student. But
ええ、わかっています。アポカリプスの着想は決して彼自身から生まれたものではない。
that's right. No matter how many shocking works of art you've seen or been inspired by, the idea of destroying one's own world would never naturally occur to someone living within it. She speaks up, trying to calm my rising anger.
失楽園を見た。 というよりも見せられたと言うべきかもしれませんね。
Yune watches Sister Lily with a look of anxious incomprehension on her face. I decide to make sure she understands everything. I want to know too. Tell us, who's the person responsible for filling Guido's head with this ideology?
はい、わかりました。
I wouldn't be exaggerating if I said this was the biggest question mark I held about this town. Maybe it's less of a question now, but I still need confirmation. A mixture of wanting to be right while desperately wanting to be wrong. The mystery of what events led to this very day. It's the most important lesson I could hope to learn here.
単刀直入に申し上げます。
Yes, I would appreciate that.
本来、アポカリプスによる破滅が訪れるのは、学長である渡瀬総一の意志によるものです。失楽園、そして破壊の美学。それらの価値観を義堂さんに吹き込んだのは、ユネさんも2年前にお会いした渡瀬氏です。
You guys have a principal here?
学長さんって私1回しか会ったことないや。
People who are obsessed with art to the point where morals get thrown out. Yeah. It is very morbid, but I can sympathize. What? So, what exactly is he like? I'm curious now.
別に普通の親父だったけどな。
Yeah, so like in his 40s and 50s. I was right. 30s, 40s. That's middle-aged.
そうだね。優しそうなおじさんって感じ。
I doubt I'd recognize him if I saw him.
確かにね。学長は渡瀬という方なんだけど。
Yeah, and as soon as he heard that name, he had a fucking fit. Ugh.
シュウ先輩、どうかしましたか？
Rase. Rase. My head. And then he died.
シュウ？シュウ！
2 years ago, Watarase, the principal of St. Aria, who Yune, Kirie, and the others met with. I guess the reason I originally fainted is because I remembered that name all too well. The whole reason I came to this town was to stop him from bringing about the apocalypse. I know that much. I remember all of it. So the problem is, where do I go from here? Why? Yune seems to ask Sister Lily.
この町ができてもう20年以上。これまでの町の中では最も長い歴史となりました。学長、渡瀬総一氏はまだお若い。先代、渡瀬紀章氏の意志を継ぎ、これからも町の運営を続けていくはずでした。
But the truth is, he hasn't. And I already knew the reason why, but I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud.
渡瀬学長は病に侵されていました。予後は極めて悪く、余命幾ばくもないという状態にさらされます。
Skill issue.
莫大な治療費さえ捻出できれば、なんとか延命が図れるか、といった具合だったそうです。
I can sense Yune's expression clouding over. To Yune, Watarase is far from a stranger. It's only natural for her to feel sad to hear someone she knows is going to die.
自身の状態を知ると、学長はこの町の運営にかかるコネクションに見切りをつけ始めました。町の解体へ向けて動き出したと言っても良いです。ハートやベルトーニの血筋はすでに町からは一歩引いておりましたし、ご子息もまだ若い。 後釜は見つかりませんでした。そうですね。この町はすでに解体される方向で話が進んでいます。来年や再来年の話ではありませんが、ただ学長と同じようにこの第三の町にも寿命が来たということなのでしょう。
Well, yeah, out of the three towns, this is the one that has survived the longest, I guess. Yune, the end of the town, is equivalent to the end of her world. Even knowing that life exists outside the town, that doesn't lessen the shock.
しかしそんな渡良瀬学長に一つのアイディアがよぎります。それがかつてフォークトランドで失敗したというアポカリプスです。その目的は身も蓋もなく言ってしまえば金、資金です。クローザの失楽園を超える時価総額を生み出せれば自身の治療費に充てられる。
What if you wanted to destroy the town, but God said you are not the main character? He would destroy an entire town to do so?
おそらくは、ただ断定はできません。渡良瀬氏もまた失楽園という作品に魅せられて町の運営を引き継いだのも事実。
The painting born from Crosser 80 years ago. It continues to mesmerize people across countries and eras, for better or worse.
2年前、渡良瀬氏がこの町に入り、生徒たちと一人一人面談をしたことがあります。
He's planning to kill people to save himself. Yeah, right? It's not like it's an incurable disease and he's only doing this as a last hurrah or whatever, right? He's doing this to recreate Cross's Lost Paradise so that he could get money for his treatment. The guy Yune says she met, if I remember correctly, her impression of him had been of a friendly uncle.
その時はたまたま症状が寛解しており、渡良瀬氏が積極的に動ける希少な機会でした。それを生徒たちの面談に当てたのです。そしてそれがアポカリプスの実行者を見定める選定作業でした。生徒の特性を見極めてそそのかすための。
Yeah. So, imagine how Guido... Wrong. Imagine how Guido would react if he found out that the only reason he's doing this is so that the principal could get more money so that the principal could save his own life, right? Imagine how fucked up it is. This is all just to make money. There is no greater purpose to it. That was the third picture. The serpent tempted by a student, ignorant to the outside world and the ravages of war, with an apple of knowledge. Acting as if he himself was just as ignorant.
面談が終わる頃に3枚の絵を見せられて、どれが一番美しいと思うかって聞かれるんだ。正解はないんだけどね。幼児、ちょっと思い出して書いてくれよ。週にも見せようぜ。
いいぜ。でも2年前のことだからな。うろ覚えだぞ。こんな感じだったかな。週ならどれ選ぶ？
上手上手。こんなんだった。
ご存知でしたか？ユネさんは覚えがあると思いますが、渡良瀬氏は各生徒に3枚の絵を見せ、その適性を測りました。失楽園という作品、そして破壊の美学という価値観。それはこの町に本来あるはずのないものですから、それを受け入れられるかどうか。そして、だからこそその出会いは衝撃です。元より適性があると判断された生徒にとって、斬新すぎるその価値観は、甘美なインスピレーションへと転化されます。
The devil whispering in your ear holds nothing to the brilliant inspiration from a muse. But it is also human nature to be most attracted to that which is most forbidden. Incest. I mean,
渡良瀬氏も全てを直接誘導したわけではありません。ただ、結果として義堂さんはこの町の終末を担う存在となりました。
in order to create a sequel to Cross's Lost Paradise?
はい。クローズの時と同じ状況。むしろそれよりも大きく近代的な街ならば、あれをも超える作品が生まれるかもしれない、と渡良瀬氏は考えました。
You're not wrong with incest.
それに、手間や費用をかけずこの街を処理することもできる、という狙いも語っていたかと。
I clench my fist angrily. Disposal, as if the town where Yune, her friends, and all the other inhabitants live was nothing more than an oversized piece of trash. I put a question mark there, but it didn't need to be. Even the very lives of the people here are deemed worthless. It's all too easy for me to see the glint of evil in his eye, a faint smile playing over his lips.
事故ということで処理も可能で、またこれまでに輸出してきた作品について所有権を主張されることもなくなる。
More like the only people alive were complicit in the destruction of the town.
実行犯である人物までいなくなってしまえば、殺人教唆に問われるリスクもゼロになります。もともとクローズドな街のことならなおさらです。
Sister Lily goes on to explain how the plan was to make to make sure Guido vanished as well. That would make things easier. Watarace might be suffering from a fatal illness, but the way he views Guido's disappearance as purely beneficial shows the extent of his ego.
その上で、破壊の美学の担い手は柊義堂という当時1年生の彼に白羽の矢が立ちました。候補者は他にももう一人いたようですが、彼は一人でいくつもの好ましい条件を揃えていました。
Right, and the other candidate was Sakuya, or was it Kyrie? As a first-year student, he was already demonstrating immense talent. Despite my lack of knowledge about the art world, I've lived here long enough to understand how valuable inspiration is. By the way, Yune, when you had your interview... Shake. Wait, hang on. Right. He didn't ask me anything about that, she says.
ユネさんの場合は、お話しした上で対象外ということになったのでしょうね。ほとんどの生徒には同じ対応だったはずです。
Sakuya is obsessed with MC in a weird way. Right. See, the more Sister Lily talks, the less I'm convinced that Sakuya and the principal were the two who ate the apple together, right? But then who would have been the other person? Because, you know, like I said, was it Rinka? Fucking, because it lines up, right? But no, it doesn't. God damn it! I one of the few interviews you want to fail. Meanwhile, after Guido met Watarace for the first time and was shown Cross's Lost Paradise, he became obsessed with the aesthetics of destruction.
そして、義堂さんが渡良瀬氏の意に沿ったということは、我々もすぐに知らされることとなりました。私は立場上、学長の方針に従うしかないものでしたが、私含む現場の人間の多くも最初は抗議しました。 たとえ直接手を下さずとも、極めて人倫にもとる非道な行為。それに、失楽園は意図して制作されたものではない。
Oh, so at least some of the teachers had a shred of morality inside them.
ですがそれでも、私たちの意見など到底聞き入れないほど、渡良瀬氏は焦っていました。
There was no other art piece that he could have sold. Could have sold.
売ってはいました。ただ、それでもほとんどは運営費に消えていきます。財産は常に困窮していました。その上、渡良瀬氏は町の作品を多く世に出しすぎ、単純に希少価値が薄まっていたという背景もあります。
Yeah, it's a simple supply and demand issue. He has so many people making art, but no one wants it. Not only did he sell student work with no regard to the students themselves, in his self-centered haste, he diminished their value. To say nothing of him slipping foreign philosophies into the town, like the serpent he is. Soichi Watarase is clearly the root of all evil.
それは捉え方次第ですが、少し怖いですよ、シュウさん。最初から結論を決めつけていたようにも見えます。
And who wouldn't? But it's because of him that Yune and everyone else. I could feel Yune's worried gaze on me. However, there's a rage within me that's quickly growing out of control. After all, I've seen that look of hopeless despair on her face too many times to count.
シュウさんは私たちを憎むかもしれませんが、こうして何事も起こらなかったことに、私は感謝していますよ。
No, you're lucky that nothing happened. I understand more than anyone the history of this town and the many twists and turns that brought us to this moment.
ですが、おそらくシュウさんが本当に聞きたいことはもう一点ありますよね。
Yeah, what is Sakuya's role in all of this? Speaks as if she knows exactly what I'm thinking. And she's right. There is one more thing that I really need to know for sure. Something I can only learn here, inside the town itself. That guy.
はい。
Soichi Watarase. What happened to him after that? She closes her eyes as if conjuring up images of the past. Her voice is emotionless, as if assigning this week's homework. Don't tell me he fucking died, alright?
聖アレイヤ学院学長、渡良瀬宗一氏は、柊義道氏に望みを託した後、流らえることができず、亡くなりました。
The final nail in the coffin. Unintended. This motherfucker brainwashed Guido into destroying the town for no reason. The only reason he did it was to get money for his illness. Now it's worthless. Only then did she show the faintest hint of sadness. So this is for nothing even more. Yeah.
私から言えるのは以上です。ご理解はいただけましたでしょうか？
It was easy enough. Just long as shit.
渡良瀬修さん。
Fuck! There it is. As soon as Sister Lily brought up that Soichi Watarase had a son, I had a feeling, alright? All I'm gonna say, because what other connection would Shu have to the headmaster other than a blood relation? It was. I feel a strange sense of loss at the revelation.
さあ、
How else would he be allowed here or know where this is? Exactly, right? Like, sure, Rinka could have told him and shit like that, right? But like, how would he have been able to get the position of a teacher without that connection? Right? Especially since we know that he only came in here to stop the town. Right? It's not like he came in here as a teacher and he found out about what the other teachers were doing and he was trying to stop Guido and all of this, right? He came in with the preconceived notion of already wanting to stop the town. And the teachers let him stay. Exactly, right? Guido extends his hand and Kyrie simply stands there silently without moving, as if she's struggling to decide whether to take it or flat out reject him. Thinking she just needs a little push, Guido opens his mouth as he moves into phase 2.
俺もな、かつて渡らせと名乗るあの男によって失楽園を見せられた。初めはショッキングな印象を受けたが、やがてその神聖に触れるまで時間はかからなかった。
I'd have a stroke if I watched more than an hour of anime. That just goes to show that you've never watched anime. What anime, just the language makes me get a headache from how they talk and they're so bright. Yeah. Despite not knowing Watarase's full name, she's been acquainted with the principal. She tries to conjure up an image of the middle-aged man she met a few years back.
あの男は体力的に限界を迎えていたが、奴の唱える芸術論には俺も感じ入るものがあった。その結果としてアポカリプスの構想は生まれた。美学というのは必ずしも一人で完結するとは限らないということ。これが奴の語る理想論に心惹かれたように、お前もまたさらなる殻を破る時なんだ。
So take my hand. The two of us together will give birth to the greatest piece of art known to mankind. Please. He takes a step closer, his eyes sparkling, extending a helping hand toward Kyrie. With his determination unwavering, his fervent artistic dogma is almost hot enough to melt the ice-cold Aurora.
Sa!
In response to such raging fires of destruction, Kyrie says, "Yeah, I don't think so."
長い。
何?
Guido looks at her in confusion, as if she'd cut him cleanly in two with her words.
だから、長えっつってんだよ、話が。私の知ってる義堂は、ちゃんと私にもわかるよう説明してくれてたぞ、いつも。
He's left speechless, puzzled by the sudden reappearance of Kyrie's usual loudmouth self. With such an what kind of act is this? He's acting almost suspiciously laid back. She's not the type that likes to listen to long, drawn-out lectures.
つか、渡らせってあのおっさんか？そのせいで義堂はこんなことしてんのか？
違う。これはあくまで俺が打ち出した俺の作品だ。
作品って、街壊すだけだろ？
お前はその後に描ける芸術を知らないからそんなことが言えるんだ。
She would surely change her mind if she saw Cross's lost paradise herself. He was certain of it, without a shadow of a doubt. There's no way he can possibly let this day pass without incident.
それを俺が教えてやる。実際にその光景を見せて。だからキリエ、保管してやる本物のブルーカを返せ。 あれはお前にも最高の美を届けると約束する。
Why are you begging so? Listen, Guido, it's already past 10 p.m. I don't know why you're trying to still convince her. Like, it ruins the aesthetics. Since she's still clearly unconvinced, he tries to reach her by playing off of their supposedly shared aesthetic taste. However, listen, I already talked about how they've got similar but completely different aesthetic tastes.
ねえよ、もう。
ない。
She ate them.
おとといあたしらがぶんどった本物のブルーカは凍らせてから全部オンネ島に溶かしちまった。危ねえもん。
何？
Fuck. God damn it. I don't know how to make a character talk tips. I mean, look, the easiest way to do it is just write a line from the game, right? See, it's a lot different. It's a lot more different to an OC character because now you have to create your own personality and you can't reference it off of any of the character's own dialogue, right? You can just take dialogue from the game and use it in your greetings for Hachiroku, right? Of course not. How could I throw such amazing craftsmanship in the trash? I left it in my warehouse for safekeeping. That's right. If only I could hear her voice. A contradiction of supposed truths. We wanted to question her about it right away, and yet was held back by some unspeakable feeling of dread. Which statement was false.
それにほら、お前がさっきから言ってる、なんだっけ？破壊の美学ってやつ？
So I would have to play through the VN again. You know, maybe if you played through the whole VN, you would understand Hachiroku better.
それがどうした？
At least with Amazing Grace, at least with Amazing Grace, you were forced to play through the whole visual novel to understand Kyrie better. I completed her route. Yeah, but you didn't complete the game, did you? And guess what? She's not just in her route. Kido asks, unease in his voice. The beauty of destruction. There's a dissonance between her attitude and her reluctance to speak those words.
ギドは私に共感してほしいとかなんとか言ってっけどさ。
And then Kyrie says something. Words no one would have ever expected.
私、それ全然わかんねえんだわ。
は？
Aww. Guido is dumbfounded. He can't understand the words coming from Kyrie's mouth. His mind can't process the possibility of Kyrie saying something like that. Mainly because Kyrie is not the type of person to state something so bluntly and definitively.
何を言っている？お前がいつもやっていたことだ。チル様、死に際の美しさだ。わかるだろ？
When most people in town think of destruction and chaos, the first person to pop into their heads would be Kyrie, not Guido. She is the most prominent advocate for the aesthetics of destruction, and most of her actions reflect this ideology. Yeah, but we already know that any time she shows off her love of destruction, it's always in movies. So, you know, purely fictional. As a film director, her love for explosion scenes is greater than most, and she destroyed her fair share of props in the process. Like, when I think of Michael Bay, I don't think of him as a fucking arsonist who's hell-bent on destroying destruction, right? Even though all of his movies feature a lot of explosions, right? It's literally the meme of... Like, when you think of Michael Bay, you think of explosions in his movies, right? When you think of J.J. Abrams, you think of lens flares and shit like that. Disaster films, I guess, but I was thinking more Transformers. As someone who thrives on showing the beauty of destruction, it would be fair to say it's her main method of expression. If not, then none of her past actions make sense. But they still do make sense. I think Guido is just the kind of guy who can't distinguish fact from fiction, right?
お前が俺の失敗作を壊したこと、丁寧に作った小道具を爆発シーンで木っ端みじんにすること、お前がいつも興奮していた要素だよ。
いや、だからそれを含めてよ。普通に考えて物が壊れんのは嫌だろ、誰でも。
What's going on? What is she saying? This is Guido's immediate and honest reaction to her words. Is she really Kyrie?
だいたいよ。作ったもんぶっ壊して創造性もクソもねって。まして自分の手がけたものじゃねえなら余計にさ。そもそも芸術だろうが美学だろうが、人様に迷惑かけてまでする表現なんか論外だし。
何を言っている？お前、本当に切り絵か？
Listen, Guido, I just think that you don't understand Kyrie on anything more than a surface level, right? Her cutting criticism doesn't end there. The reasonable arguments Shu and many others always tried to shower upon her are now coming from her own mouth. Her arguments would sound reasonable coming from the average Joe, but are decidedly odd coming from Kyrie, who's always towed the line of decency.
本当に切り絵か。そう言ってもらえるのは最大の賛辞かもな。
I mean, like... it is a fair question. Is this the real Kyrie?
どういう意味だ?
Before he realizes what's happening, his emotions have taken control. All he can do is parrot the same questions as his mind struggles to make sense of the situation. However...
まだわかんねえ？あんま天才的すぎるのも考えもんか。
Guido seems paralyzed with horror at what Kyrie is implying. He finds himself at a loss for words. The only possible explanation is simply too ridiculous to be true, and yet at the same time, a voice deep inside him is saying it must be true. There's no inconsistency. She would never destroy them, not without a tremendous amount of effort.
お前、まさか。
Once again, he recalls their first meeting. That girl who loved explosion scenes more than anything, willing to destroy anything for them. Right after he saw Cross's Lost Paradise, he ran into a girl extolling the beauty of destruction. He remembers that moment in vivid colors, and yet...
演技だと。
正解。
I can't believe... Kyrie, the girl in front of him. Ever since they first met, he thought of her as a girl enamored with the aesthetics of destruction. And now she's saying that it was never anything more than a grand theatrical charade.
壊すのも壊れるのも別に何も好きじゃない。ああ、映画が好きなのは本当だけどな。
See? Listen. You know, this is exactly what I like about Kyrie. She plays with you, not like Rinka. Look. I already said she only likes explosions in movies, right? She would definitely be the kind to have... she's definitely more so... She's definitely the type to prefer CG explosions over, like, practical. Even if all of her explosions are practical. Kyrie, best girl. She is good. But, you know, still can't beat Sakuya and Yune.
でも爆発シーンなんか無理にねじ込むもんでもねえし、あれはあれでコメディとしては味があってよかったけど。
She reveals the personality trait he had considered to be her most defining characteristic was a farce, a huge act she'd stuck to faithfully for years. But why? But of course, just hearing her say that wasn't enough to convince him.
バカな。何のために。演技だと、芝居だと、そんなふざけた話があるか。最初に会った時からお前はそうだったはずだ。
It's impossible for him to accept she's leaving. It's impossible for him to accept that. It's impossible for him to accept she's leaving him high and dry after he poured his heart out. Regardless of how plausible it may be, it doesn't change how mind-bogglingly ridiculous it is. Bogglingly ridiculous it is at the same time.
何のためって。
In response, Kyrie calmly goes for the fatal blow before Guido can regain his composure. There's only... Okay, she's going to say it, but like, the only reason I can think of it is because of Lost Paradise, right?
そんなの決まってんじゃん。今日のためだよ。
I like a girl could play with me emotionally, but in fun and good way. Oh boy.
今日のためだと。
She answers as if he should know. The situation they're currently in is the sole reason why she put on an act for as long as she did.
わかりやすく言えば、今日お前に呼び出された時点で、私の目的は達成されたってこと。
Like a tease. No, Dexter, I understand what you're saying, but can you proofread your messages? You know, like when you proofread your chatbots so that there aren't any grammatical errors. Minimal grammatical errors.
どういうことだ。俺とお前がこうなって。いや、そもそもどこから。
Yeah, it would be the type of person. Have you seen errors in my bots? No, not to the same extent as your fucking messages. Sounds fake. Hello, Baku. Which part sounds fake?
思い描いてた絵図が失敗したから、ギドは私にすがったんだろ。誰よりも爆発が好きで、壊すことに目がない私に。話し合えるって言ったよな。そりゃつまり、私を認めてくれたってことで、それが私にとっての成功なんだよ。
IDK, I'm talking shit. In other words, everything that led to this moment. With his apocalyptic plans thwarted, I mean. And having run out of options, Kyrie the explosion lover was his only hope. I'm not real. Unlucky. Because he knew she was the only one who would understand.
バカな。なら、お前、最初から全部。
いや、そんなことはない。それならこんな回りくどいやり方しなくていいもんな。
If she knew who was behind the apocalypse, she could have nailed him from the start, but she hadn't known it was Guido himself. Her performance was also bait in order to lure the perpetrator out of hiding. Yeah, so the way I understand it is that the only reason she changed up her personality to appear as she loves explosions is because of the Lost Paradise painting that was shown to most of the students. Right? I don't know. In fact, if it wasn't for Kyrie, even if his plans had ended in failure, No one would have known Gita was behind it.
だから確かに私一人じゃこんな演技はできねえよ。一人じゃな。
Brinket did help Kyrie too, I think. Right. She says with a smirk. Behind her true smile lies the shadow of the person she trusts the most.
いい女優にはいい監督が必要なんだよ。
She slowly reveals the presence of a second person.